Are you a social media manager or agency owner who is overwhelmed by the amount of tools and clients they're trying to keep track of, all while staying organized as a team? Then I feel you. In today's video, I've partnered up with Cloud Campaign to show you how you can create a social media manager workflow all within just one tool. Hey, my name is Milou and I own a multi-six-figure social media agency, and I now help social media managers do the same. If you're new here, don't forget to grab my free roadmap to becoming a six-figure social media manager that I will drop in the description below. Now let's dive in. Now, before we dive in, I do want you to know that your social media manager workflow comes in after you have onboarded a client, right? So there's a whole another onboarding process that you will need right before you actually get to work, right? You can't just dive into the work. You need to onboard a client first. And the next step would be to execute this workflow that I have for you today. So the first thing you would need to build your workflow is client assets, right? So without content, without anything from your client, you cannot execute as a social media manager, build their calendar, right, and the ongoing workflow process that we're doing today. Now, I always like to refer to this as your client needs to have a content source. Now, ideally, this would be either long form content, such as YouTube, a podcast they have, maybe they write regular blogs, whatever it may be, anything long form that allows you to turn into social media content. Now, I get it. I get what you're thinking. A lot of clients don't have this, right? And there are a couple ways around this, but it would just require either you to sit down with your client and create content together, right? Whether you're interviewing them to get ideas and content off them, or whether they are recording themselves for you to edit and use, right? But at the end of the day, you do need those assets, because once you have those assets, you can bulk upload them inside of Cloud Campaign so that you have all the assets and content that you want to use after you've edited it, whatever you want to do with it, but that you can go ahead and schedule them into the calendar, right? So that is the very first step. Now, again, I want to emphasize that as a social media manager, you are not necessarily responsible for capturing content on site, right, or video. So again, you do need the client to deliver those assets so that you can start the workflow and start building out their content calendar. Now, the second thing you will need to build a very smooth social media manager workflow is an approval process. Now, this is most likely one of the most important aspects of your workflow, because you need to get approval from a client. And there's nothing more frustrating for you and your team and for the client if you don't have a smooth approval process in place. Now, inside of Cloud Campaign, they actually have an internal and an external approval process. Now, what does this mean? Within the internal approval process, this is just within you and your team, and your client will not be able to see the comments and the back and forth, right? So this is very important because you need to do your own internal approval and review, right, if you work with multiple people before you send it over to a client. Now, with the external content review process inside of Cloud Campaign, you can simply share the link with the client so that they can review the content. And the best part is that, let's say they have no revisions, they can simply hit approve, and Cloud Campaign will automatically then schedule and post the content for you. So you no longer have to schedule it at that point, right? It makes a very smooth process for your workflow. If you want to know exactly what this looks like, I have done plenty of videos on Cloud Campaign on how we incorporate them, and even an honest review if you want to see what my initial thoughts were when I started using them. Now, the third thing you will need to build a social media manager workflow is an engagement process, right? So now the content is going live, everything is smoothly approved, right? The revisions are made to the content, comments are left by the client, but everything is now approved and in the content calendar ready to go live, right? Your work doesn't stop here, right? You do need to manage and monitor the accounts and the community, because your content is obviously going to spark a lot of conversation, right? And so you need to respond to comments, comments, DMs, etc. In the initial strategy, what we like to do is create some scripts for the client to approve on the way we respond to people, on the DMs we send out, so that we're on the same page. But from there on, you can, inside of Cloud Campaign, monitor engagement and actually respond to people inside of the tool. Because especially as social media managers, marketers, we're constantly online, we're 24/7 inside social media accounts. So it's nice to keep that separate, all within one software away from your phone. And it gives you a great overview to see when the last comments were made, to make sure they were responded to, etc. And this counts for DMs as well as comments and monitoring the feed. Now, the fourth and very last thing you want to incorporate within your social media manager workflow is reporting. Now, without a doubt, your client is going to ask, right, how the social media is performing. What results are they getting? What ROI are they seeing, right? And while organic social media is a long game, right, you can track all the things that are going on so that they know exactly what's going on and feel great about working with you. Now, I've seen a ton of social media managers, marketers who create beautiful, prettified social media analytics report on a monthly basis, but this is just not a good use of your time. So in order to be more efficient with our time, you can actually, again, use Cloud Campaign to pull and export analytics reports. Now, you don't even have to export them. If you want to, you can just simply share a link with a client, right, that they have access to instantly to their analytic report. It's even interactive to where they can scroll through themselves, see what's happening, and ask you any questions if they have it. And you can do all of this without lifting a single finger, right? You don't need to create these massive reports outside of Cloud Campaign because all the information is in there, including a summary of the insights on what was actually happening in the account that month, what was performing, what wasn't performing, your hashtag insights, you name it. It will all be inside of your Cloud Campaign analytics. Now, if you're like, oh my God, I need this, I want a smooth workflow, I don't feel organized with my team and all the clients we're taking on, and you want to start streamlining your business, then I highly recommend you check out Cloud Campaign. They offer a 14-day free trial, and you can even take a discount off their Cloud Campaign plan. You can take 15% off using my code Milou15. And I hope you found this helpful. I hope you're going to apply all the things that we went over today to create a smooth workflow that works for you. Now, if you find this helpful, make sure you subscribe because I post weekly videos, and I will see you in next week's video.